Hi again. Yeah, living in South Africa, guys. So I was live doing statistics, and the internet decided to do what it wanted to do, and we were experiencing something we call load shedding. Basically, electricity just goes away for a certain period of time. And during that period, sometimes network towers get affected and all those type of things. So yeah, it sucks. It sucks. If you were on that stream with me, you probably saw the effects of what I'm talking about. Um, for now, I'm doing this because I went live yesterday and my predictions, there was a lag in the video. Obviously, because of the amount of work that went into making that live stream, I'm not going to bring back all the information that's in that particular video, but I'm going to try and basically recap everything that I was saying there, and if maybe any of you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. So this is going to be like a brief summary of my breakdowns from yesterday because the network was horrible yesterday, and I wasn't even aware. You know, network is great at home, but at work, for streaming specifically, obviously they just connected it purely for browsing purposes. So let me try and maybe break down the fights once again, and maybe I'll tell you my picks. Um, this will be a little bit more relaxed than my normal predictions and how I normally do them. Because normally I read from the screen. I don't use like my knowledge or the information that I have. So yeah, let's just start with it. Eric Silva versus Mohamed Naimov. Um, I remember saying that this particular fight, I felt like it was going to be a little bit close, largely because I feel like both of them have not had significant UFC experience. So it's kind of difficult to actually see or to say either of them have like an advantage because I feel like on both sides you can make an argument for why either one of them should win. Especially when you look at Naimov's win over Nathaniel Wood, it wasn't that incredible in my opinion. So I can't really say that he's like going to dominate this guy because Eric Silva is a pretty decent fighter. I wouldn't say great, but like he's decent. So I remember calling it like it could be a coin flip, but I'm going with Naimov, right? I would say 50-50. The fight is 50-50 in my opinion. But I'm going with Mohamed Naimov, and my subscribers also went with Mohamed Naimov. Um, On to the next one, Victor Altamirano versus Felipe Dos Santos. This is this is an interesting one because I think a lot of people are hyped up on Felipe Dos Santos, largely because of his performance against Manuel Cup. And I think also there's this feeling, maybe it's the what do you call him, Diego Lopez effect. We remember Bon. Hi, my dude. I don't necessarily speak Portuguese or is it Spanish. I use translation. So if you see me replying in comments, just know I'm using translation softwares. Hi. How are you? I'll answer questions once I'm done with these breakdowns because I remember there was an issue yesterday. So I'm trying to recap my predictions. So on Victor Altamirano versus Felipe Dos Santos. Um, I feel like people are high on Felipe Dos Santos because he came in on short notice against Manuel Cab, and they were like, oh my God, he went to a decision with him and all those type of things. But if you look at that fight, Felipe Dos Santos's striking defense was not great. his offense was not that great. And you can obviously make the argument that, well, of course, it won't be great. It's short notice, and it's coming in against like a top 10 talent, a prospect that some people believe that he will eventually become champion, Manel Cup, for example. So obviously, Felipe Dos Santos is not going to perform exceedingly well. But even with that, I just don't feel like he's going to be significantly better than Victor Altamirano. I'm not necessarily saying that Victor Altamirano is going to maybe run through this guy. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I wasn't really I was impressed with the fact that he was able to keep up with Manel Cup, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that as a result of him being able to keep up with Manel Cup, then it translates to him being a top 10 performer or a top 10 fighter. It's kind of like the argument. I have some subscribers that I usually talk to in the comment section who make the argument that, well, because someone beat someone, then automatically they are on the level of that particular person. You know, what is happening in the comment section? Anyway, so there's MMA fans like to do that, like obviously because someone who beat Charles Oliveira will be considered to be really good because they beat Charles Oliveira at a point in their career when Charles Oliveira was not doing that incredible. So automatically they assume that, okay, because of that, then that person is going to perform exceedingly well. I think Felipe Dos Santos is good, but I feel like Victor Altamirano is better. I guess we'll just have to wait and see in a few hours. I went with Victor Altamirano. My subscribers went with Felipe Dos Santos, but I'll maintain that it might be 50-50, even this one. There are a lot of close fights on this particular card. There are a small number of fights that I feel confident about the predictions, whereby I would say 80% you'll see them as I go forward. On to the next fight. Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Dennis Bonda. Here's another one. I feel like people are, for whatever reason, overlooking the fact that Bonda has been in the UFC and Bonda is an incredible finisher. He, you never know who's gonna beat who. Yeah, there are certain fights that are really difficult to call, and there are a lot of them on this particular card. But when we let me go to Bonda versus Ronaldo Rodriguez. This is another one that me and my subscribers don't agree on. My subscribers went with Ronaldo Rodriguez, and I went with Dennis Bonda. Largely because it's basically the same as Felipe Dos Santos. The only difference is Rolando is like an upcoming prospect. And I'm not saying that Luis, his name was Luis and now it's Ronaldo or something like that. Do you do PFL fights? If you do, who you got for your versus Thiago Santos? No, man. Like, I have a full time job and I'm doing this channel on my own, so it's kind of difficult to actually focus on different promotions. But that's the future of the channel. I want to include a variety of other combat sports, but for now, I only specifically do UFC because like it's kind of difficult. Go through the whole channel and you'll see I upload every single day on this channel, statistics, predictions every single day. So that alone is kind of difficult. So to actually do other promotions is going to be a little bit challenging. So let me get to the fights. So yeah, as I was saying, I feel like Dennis Bonda is a little bit better than Rolando Rodriguez. My subscribers obviously went with Rolando, and I'm going with Dennis Bonda. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. This is another one of those that I feel like it might go either way. Um, Claudio Puluez versus Farazian. Yeah, let me let me check some of their information here. Farazian versus Claudio Perez. Um, let me see, 60%. Okay, on the feet, I feel like obviously Ziam is better, but I don't think Claudio is so. I don't think Claudio will be too lost on the feet. That's what I mean, and I feel like he's going to be able to survive enough to get it to the ground. So between the two, I'm going to go with Claudio. My subscribers went with Faraziam. Um, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If you want the most, like the a detailed version of these predictions, obviously the audio is okay, but the video is not that great. I'm just trying to actually give you guys a recap. So there's like an official one that I did yesterday with like accurate information that I researched. Now I'm just using my memory. Obviously, some of the information I can't remember. I just can't remember the picks. I just can't remember specific reasons why I actually picked them because I wrote it down. That's why I write it down. But on to the next one. Edgar Chairez versus Daniel Laceda. Um, I don't know why the UFC tries to book this fight. Like it has been rebooked. I don't know how many times. The first time the fight happened and the guy got choked out. Obviously, it was ended prematurely. That's why we have a rematch. And then there was a rematch that was cancelled. And then there's this one. But despite the fact that Daniel Lacerda was being choked in that particular previous fight, I still feel like Edgar Chairez is going to, or rather, it's going to be a close fight because I feel like they are very closely matched. Um, and this is despite the fact that I know and I saw the fight, the last fight. Edgar Chairez was winning that fight, but I feel like they are basically very closely matched. In my opinion, they are very closely matched. So it would be very challenging to actually determine. But obviously, I'm going to go with Edgar Chairez. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some type of an upset because I think they are very closely matched. My subscribers also went with Edgar Chairez. On to the next one. Jesus Aguila versus Mateus Mendonca. This is one of those fights. There aren't that many on this particular card, but this is one of those fights where I feel like, okay, Jesus is going to win this fight. In any way he wants to win it. Like whether it's on the feet or on the ground, he is going to win this particular fight. It doesn't matter where the fight goes. I feel like Jesus is a little bit better everywhere. I don't think Mateus is that good. And my subscribers also picked Jesus. So yeah, on to the next one. Christian Quinones versus Raoni Barcelos. Yeah, this one is a little bit tricky. I picked Christian. My subscribers went with Barcelos, and then I went with Christian Quinones, and here's why. Um, Raoni Barcelo, I think that these are one of the fighters who are being rated largely for their performance and losing against the top ranked fighters or talented fighters. It's kind of like the Colby effect, right? Where, oh my God, Colby went 25 rounds or whatever the case is with Usman, so automatically Colby is good. I don't subscribe to that kind of mindset or to that kind of deduction or that kind of thought process. I believe in judging people on their individual merits. If you're good, then you have to be good on your own, not because you survived against someone despite the fact that you lost. I think, even though I still believe that um, Barcelos is a good fighter, I think, and it's not even just a thought, statistically speaking, um, even if you go back and look at previous fights, there's this particular. Just to prove my point, I'm going to give you to refer you to a video that can actually give you a more detailed more detailed information about the argument that I'm about to make, which is on MMA on point. They actually tried to calculate the age of decline for fighters. I think I spoke about this on my previous stream, whereby they calculated exactly based on the wins and losses of previous fights. when specifically fighters start to lose, especially dominant fighters, and the ages between 33 and 34, right? Barcelos, especially under the age or under the weight class of 170. So Barcelos is 36 now, approaching 37. I think Christian Quinones is 27, which means he's about 10 years younger than Barcelos, number one. The reason I look at those things is I'm trying to figure out who is more likely to be hungry, who is more likely to improve in their next fight, and who is more likely to actually want to climb the rankings. In most cases, it's going to be the younger fighter because they still have a couple of years in front of them to achieve whether getting into the rankings or even eventually becoming champions. I think this fight is so closely matched that I have to look at who I think is going to show up, who I think is more likely to have injuries and all those type of things. And that's essentially why I went with Christian. I think the fight is closely matched, but I think the advantage will go to Christian Quinones. My subscribers obviously picked Raoni Barcelos, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see who wins that particular fight. Manuel Torres versus Chris Duncan. This is another one of those fights where I feel like I don't think Chris Duncan might have a little bit of an advantage on the ground, but it's not easy to take Manuel Torres down. So, which that means the fight will be on the feet, right? So because of that, I feel like Manuel Torres will probably knock Chris Duncan out. This is one of those few fights that I feel confident about, and I feel confident about my pick. So I feel pretty confident that Manuel Torres will probably knock out Chris Duncan. My subscribers also picked Manuel Torres. Yasmin Jarigi versus Sam Hughes. Um, this is also another interesting one because when you look at all round, I think Sam Hughes is the better fighter. But the problem is she has been inconsistent in her career. Um, it's really difficult to say she's going to show up or if she's not going to show up. So it's really difficult to say that you are picking her because she's been inconsistent. So you don't know when she's going to perform really well. On the other hand, and another thing, not just on the other hand, another thing is that Sam Hughes has lost to fighters like the level of fighters that Yasmin has beaten. So, for example, Yasmin has beaten um, Yasmin Lucindo. I think that's her name. She's beaten Lucindo, whereas Sam Hughes has lost to Pinheiro. What's her name? I forgot her name. Something Pinheiro. Let me try and check. Let me try and check what's the last person she lost to. One of the few people that she lost to. Okay, we can always come back to this, but she lost to someone. Yeah, some Vieira, something Pinheiro, something like that. And I feel like that's a problem for me. So my subscribers and I picked um, Yasmin to beat Sam Hughes, even though personally I feel like Sam Hughes is the better fighter. But I'm going to go with Yasmin to win this particular fight. On to the next one. Raul Rosas Jr. versus Ricky Turcios. I haven't seen anything from Ricky Turcios to make me think that he's capable of beating Raul Rosas Jr. Anyway, right? So I feel like Raul Rosas Jr. can beat this guy whether he decides to stand up or whether he decides to grapple. It doesn't really matter. Well, on the feet or on the ground, I think Raul Rosas Jr. wins this particular fight. And I still think Rosas Jr. is a very talented prospect. I think a lot of people just got off the hype train largely because of the loss to Christian Rodriguez, which I don't think is fair because Christian Rodriguez ended up going to beat another undefeated prospect in Cameron Simon, who's also like a decently talented prospect. Um, and Christian Rodriguez went to beat that guy. So that potentially means that Christian. It's kind of like people who lost to Ilya Tuporia. You wouldn't have known that Ilya Tuporia, even if you saw the potential, but you wouldn't have really known that Ilya Tuporia would eventually become champion and knock out Alexander Volkanovski. A lot of people would have doubted that, and most of them would have laughed at you, right? So probably Christian Rodriguez is one of is like Ilya Tuporia. I know that's like a massive statement to make, but I don't think it's a bad loss, especially considering the fact that Christian Rodriguez went on to beat another undefeated prospect. So I think Raul Rosas Jr. is still like a really promising prospect. Um, so yeah, I think he finishes this fight. He finishes Ricky Turcios. I don't see Ricky Turcios winning this fight anyway, whether it stands or whether it goes to the ground. On to the next one. What's the next fight? My subscribers also picked Raul Rosas Jr. On to the next one. Daniel Zalhuba versus Francisco Prado. I think uh, on the feet, I would give the advantage to Prado. On the ground, even though actually on the feet, I give only the advantage to Prado largely because of his power, right? But in terms of striking, I feel like it's more or less evenly matched. But I think Zelhuba's reach will work for him. But as far as what do you call it? As far as power, I will obviously give it to Prado. On the ground, I think that's where Zelhuba has the highest probability of winning because Prado is not that good at defending takedowns, and because of that, and in most cases, not being able to defend takedowns, it's nice or it's good if you can submit people. The problem here is that Zalhuba is also a good, like, is also good on the ground, and if ever you get two people who are good on the ground, most likely whoever has top position will be the one who actually ends up winning the fight. So I feel like this fight might be 3 rounds of Zalhuba being on top and trying to submit the Prado, and somehow he's going to be able to survive for 3 rounds. My subscribers also picked the Prado. On to the next one, Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega. Um, Max Holloway and what do you call him? Alexander Volkanovski showed us that it's very dangerous to stand with Yair Rodriguez because these are phenomenal strikers in the featherweight division, but both of them used the wrestling when they fought Yair Rodriguez. That just goes to show how talented Yair is on the feet. But at the same time, they also showed people that you can tire Yair Rodriguez on the ground and actually finish him on the feet. The problem is with even though this is his strong point, like that's where Brian Ortega excels on the ground. I don't feel like he's going to be able to do that to Yair Rodriguez. I feel like, are you talking about the PFL event too? No, no. Maybe I should do it after this, but I don't know the fight is there, so I'll see. I'll see if maybe I can research and then maybe come to it. So back to this particular card, I don't feel like Rodriguez will be controlled by Brian Ortega, especially after coming off an injury and all those type of things. I honestly feel like Ortega is past his prime, and I think Yair is going to knock him out. So yeah, my subscribers and I went with Yair Rodriguez. The main event of the evening, Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval. Um, yo, I don't know. Factory X fighters. Brandon Royval is a Factory X fighter. Just like Anthony Lionheart Smith. There are a couple of Factory X fighters that have been losing fights horribly, back to back, some on the same night. So number one for me, the moment I hear that someone is fighting out of Factory X, I'm like, hey, this is gonna be bad. Um, and thanks, man. Number two, another issue that I have is that I feel like Brandon Moreno, obviously they had fought before and Brandon Moreno won that fight. I don't think that the result will be different because I feel like Moreno is better everywhere, on the feet, on the ground. Like, I don't think Royval is going to be able to do anything different. So my subscribers and I went with Brandon Moreno. So yeah, I think I've been seeing comments saying, by the way, I'm done. If you want to see a more detailed breakdown and analysis, you can go to the one that I did yesterday. The only issue is that it's largely audio. The video is not that great, but it's live. Like, but nonetheless, yeah, you can always go back to that because there's a little bit more information, and I break down exactly why I picked each particular fighter. I give like more detailed reasons than I gave on this particular one. I just decided to do this one because a couple of people were complaining about the lag, and I know, but I think I fixed it. Starting next week, Friday, but I'll be going live throughout the week. So yeah, as far as PFL, I think people have been asking me to do PFL. Unfortunately, I don't like to do predictions without researching them first. So I would have to research, and I'm assuming the mere fact that people are asking me this much about the PFL card, um, probably it's happening today, right, or later. So someone asked me about Yoel Romero versus Thiago Santos. I would have to do research, man. Like, that's a really difficult one to call at the top of my head. I would have to do research. So unfortunately, I don't know. At this point, I can't really give you a definite answer. So yeah, that was it. I think if anyone has any questions, some of you have left. I can see. So I'll see you on the other stream. I love you guys. Thank you for the support. If you haven't subscribed, there's so much on this channel. Go to the channel and see for yourself. I love you guys. Deuces.